If you cannot accept my need to experience life in a broader way, then perhaps we cannot continue together. Her voice, though gentle, carried the weight of finality. Ethan's eyes filled with tears as he replied, I built this life with you. I trusted you with my heart, and now I feel betrayed. I can't imagine a future where I'm expected to stand aside while you chase a freedom that leaves me behind. Welcome to DCM Reddit, where stories of cheating wives are exposed. Let me know what time it is and where you are in the world. Subscribe to the channel and like the video. Now let's follow the story. Before we begin today's story, please share your location in the comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe. Avery Monroe was 38 when she seemed to have it all. As the vice president of a thriving creative agency in the affluent suburb of Crestmont, she balanced boardroom meetings with vibrant social gatherings. At home, Avery's life appeared picture-perfect. Her husband, Ethan Monroe, 40 and a dedicated architect known for his innovative designs, had built a successful firm that stood as a local landmark. Their daughter, Emily, a bright 16-year-old with an insatiable curiosity, was the light of their lives. Together, the Monroe family painted a portrait of stability and shared dreams. Every Sunday morning, they gathered for brunch in their sunlit dining room, laughing over memories of childhood and planning for the future. Avery's radiant smile and warm demeanor had once been the glue that bound the family together. But beneath that polished surface, subtle cracks were beginning to form, fleeting moments when Avery's eyes betrayed an inner longing, and Ethan's gentle reassurances could not quite mask the uncertainty that began to echo in the silent corridors of their home. As the seasons turned, Avery began to feel an unfamiliar weight upon her shoulders. In the busy hum of her daily work, a restless desire emerged, a yearning for a freedom that seemed just out of reach. Late one evening, while reviewing campaign proposals in her sleek downtown office, she caught a glimpse of herself in a darkened window. Her reflection looked tired, a little wistful. It was in that moment that she realized something was missing. Her life, once full of passion and purpose, now felt confined by routines and unspoken expectations. At home, Ethan noticed the change too. His wife, once so effusive with love, now spent evenings alone with her phone, and her laughter during family dinners had grown rare. Though Ethan tried to brush off the small details, assuming work stress or fleeting distractions were to blame, their shared glances hinted at a widening distance. Avery's closest friend, Caroline, would later confide that she had seen a spark in Avery's eyes when they met for coffee, a spark of rebellion and hope that suggested Avery was ready to redefine what her life should be. One cool autumn evening, when the golden light filtered softly through the windows of their modern kitchen, Avery decided it was time to confront the unspoken. After Emily had gone to bed, she sat down across from Ethan at the kitchen table. The air was thick with tension and unasked questions. "Ethan," Avery began, her voice steady yet tinged with vulnerability, "we need to talk about us." Ethan, startled by the gravity in her tone, leaned forward. "What's on your mind, Avery?" he asked. Taking a deep breath, Avery continued, "I've been feeling confined. Our life, as beautiful as it is, sometimes feels like it's holding me back. I want to experience more, to be free to explore, to connect with others in a way that feels authentic to me. I'm asking if you'd consider opening our marriage." Ethan blinked, his heart pounding in his chest. "Opening our marriage?" he echoed, unable to hide the mixture of shock and hurt in his tone. Avery's eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she explained, "I still love you, Ethan. I value our family. But I need space to discover who I am and what I want, beyond the confines of a traditional marriage." The room fell into a heavy silence. Ethan's mind raced as he tried to process her words. Though he had always believed in the sanctity of their union, a small part of him wondered if this change could be the key to unlocking a new version of their lives. But uncertainty, fear of loss, and a deep-rooted need for stability made his heart ache with confusion. Over the following weeks, the conversations between Avery and Ethan grew more frequent and more painful. While Avery spoke with a determined calm about the possibility of an open marriage, emphasizing the idea of maintaining their love and security while granting her the freedom to explore, Ethan's responses were a cocktail of disbelief, sorrow, and mounting anger. One stormy night, as rain pounded against the windows of their Crestmont home, Avery delivered an ultimatum. "Ethan," she said softly, "if you cannot accept my need to experience life in a broader way, then perhaps we cannot continue together." Her voice, though gentle, carried the weight of finality. Ethan's eyes filled with tears as he replied, "I built this life with you. I trusted you with my heart, and now I feel betrayed. I can't imagine a future where I'm expected to stand aside while you chase a freedom that leaves me behind." The ultimatum was clear: either embrace a new dynamic, a marriage redefined by openness and compromise, or face a future without each other. The night stretched on, filled with heavy silence and bitter reflections. Emily, unaware of the adult storm brewing around her, slept soundlessly in her room, while the very walls of the Monroe home seemed to whisper of broken promises. As the days turned to weeks, Avery's desire for liberation took shape. With Ethan's reluctant agreement to try the open marriage as a temporary measure, Avery cautiously embarked on a journey to explore connections beyond her marriage. At her office, she met Derek Lang, a 42-year-old charismatic consultant with an easy smile and a reputation for being an excellent listener. Their conversations began innocuously, discussions about industry trends and creative ideas, but soon evolved into late-night chats over coffee and whispered confidences that stirred something deep within Avery. For the first time in years, Avery felt seen in a new light. Derek's presence was gentle yet invigorating. He listened to her dreams and fears without judgment. Yet every encounter left her with a bittersweet twinge of guilt. When she returned home, the silence between her and Ethan was almost palpable. Ethan, hurt by the growing distance and the new woman in her life, began to monitor subtle changes in her behavior. He found inconsistencies in her schedule and unanswered questions in the quiet moments of the evening. Unable to quell his doubts, Ethan hired a discreet investigator. Over time, the evidence confirmed what his heart feared: Avery was indeed spending more time with Derek. The betrayal was not a sudden storm, but a slow, accumulating drizzle that had soaked through the foundation of their marriage. The strain of the new arrangement reached its tipping point one cold winter night. After a tense dinner where words were exchanged with little warmth, Ethan retreated to the study, unable to bear the silence any longer. Meanwhile, Avery found herself torn between the thrill of her newfound freedom and the crushing weight of guilt over the life she was dismantling. At midnight, as the wind howled outside, Ethan finally confronted her. "Avery," he said in a voice that trembled with restrained anger, "I can't keep pretending that everything is okay. I know about Derek. I know you're not happy, and I know you're chasing something that leaves me behind." Avery's eyes filled with tears as she replied, "I'm not trying to hurt you, Ethan. I need to know who I am outside of being your wife. I thought you'd understand." Her voice was both pleading and defiant. But Ethan's pain had hardened into resolve. "I've spent so many nights wondering what went wrong, replaying every moment, and all I get are excuses," he said bitterly. "Maybe I was wrong about us. Maybe I can't compete with the freedom you crave." The confrontation shattered the fragile truce they had attempted to maintain. In the ensuing days, the atmosphere at home turned icy. Emily, caught in the middle of a war she could not understand, grew quiet and distant. The Monroe household, once a haven of shared dreams, now brimmed with tension and sorrow. Unable to tolerate the constant ache of betrayal and loneliness, Ethan made a decision that neither of them had wished for. One chilly morning, after a sleepless night spent pacing the halls of their once happy home, he packed a small bag and left. His departure was silent but final, no dramatic farewells, just the heavy sound of a door closing behind him. For Avery, the reality of Ethan's absence was both a relief and a crushing blow. She had longed for freedom, but now that the price of that freedom had been paid, the emptiness in the house felt unbearable. In the days that followed, the negotiations for divorce began. Legal meetings, tearful discussions, and moments of regret punctuated the process. Avery tried to justify her actions to herself and to her friends, insisting that she needed this time to rediscover who she truly was. But deep down, the hollow ache of loneliness gnawed at her. Ethan, meanwhile, sought refuge in his work. Immersing himself in new projects and collaborations, he found solace in the precision and order of his designs. Each day, as he sat at his drafting table sketching plans for a groundbreaking bridge, he poured his pain and determination into his work. The loss of his marriage had left him scarred, but it also ignited a fierce desire to rebuild not only his professional legacy but also his identity as a man who deserved respect and fidelity. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, both Avery and Ethan embarked on separate journeys of self-discovery. Avery, now living alone in the spacious home they once shared, threw herself into a whirlwind of social events and new relationships. She began dating intermittently, exploring what it meant to be independent, liberated, and unapologetically herself. Her encounters ranged from brief, passionate liaisons to longer, more contemplative dates with men who respected her newfound freedom. Yet, with each new relationship, the echoes of her past, the memories of a family once whole and the guilt of breaking trust, remained a constant companion. Ethan, on the other hand, attended therapy sessions and joined support groups for those who had suffered betrayal. Slowly, he began to rebuild his shattered self-esteem and learned that sometimes, letting go was the first step toward healing. His work became his sanctuary, and soon, he unveiled a revolutionary bridge design that not only restored his professional reputation but also symbolized the rebuilding of his life from the remnants of betrayal. Throughout this period, Emily struggled to adjust. Torn between the love she still felt for both parents and the confusion wrought by their separation, she retreated into her studies and creative pursuits. Both Avery and Ethan made painstaking efforts to shield her from the full brunt of their pain, yet the once joyful laughter in the Monroe household had been replaced by an atmosphere of uncertainty and silent sorrow. After months of legal wrangling, counseling, and soul-searching, the day came for the final confrontation, a meeting meant to bring closure to a marriage that had long since lost its magic. In the muted light of a gray afternoon, Avery and Ethan sat across from each other in the living room, the air heavy with the ghosts of what had been. "Ethan," Avery began, her voice wavering between regret and defiance, "I know I've hurt you. I thought I needed to break free, but I see now that I lost more than I ever intended." Her eyes searched his face, desperate for some sign of reconciliation. Ethan's gaze was steady but pained. "Avery, I've spent so long trying to understand where it all went wrong. I built my life around us, around our trust. And now, I'm left wondering if that trust was ever real." There was a long pause, a silence filled with memories of love, laughter, and the promises they once made. They spoke for hours, of mistakes, of unmet needs, and of dreams that had withered under the weight of betrayal. Though neither could undo the past, both acknowledged that their paths had diverged irreparably. In a moment of quiet resignation, Ethan said, "I cannot go back, Avery. I must reclaim my life and find a way to move on." Avery, tears streaming down her face, replied softly, "I never wanted to hurt you. I only wanted to be free." And with those words, the final chapter of their union was written. In the aftermath of their painful separation, both Avery and Ethan faced the future with heavy hearts but a renewed sense of purpose. The divorce was finalized amicably, with both parties agreeing to prioritize Emily's well-being above all else. Though the scars of betrayal remained, they gradually began to heal as time softened the edges of their grief. Avery embarked on a journey of self-discovery that took her across cities and into new experiences. She traveled, reconnected with old friends, and even started a modest blog where she wrote about the lessons of freedom, love, and regret. In the quiet moments of reflection, she learned that liberation sometimes came with a price, and that true happiness might be found only when one embraced both the light and the darkness of the past. Ethan, fortified by the support of his colleagues and the solace of his work, channeled his pain into his craft. His revolutionary bridge design, now celebrated as a marvel of modern engineering, became a symbol of resilience and rebirth. He mentored young architects, sharing his hard-earned wisdom and encouraging them to build not only physical structures but also lives founded on integrity and trust. Emily, who had weathered the storm of her parents' separation with quiet dignity, blossomed into a thoughtful young adult. Balancing her studies with creative pursuits, she learned that even in the midst of heartbreak, there could be beauty, and that sometimes, new beginnings were born from the ruins of the old. Crimson Horizons, The Price of Liberation, is the story of two souls once intertwined by love, only to be torn apart by the pursuit of individual freedom. Though Avery Monroe and Ethan Monroe each took divergent paths when betrayal shattered the sacred bonds of marriage, their journeys serve as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Years later, as Emily prepared to leave for college with hope in her eyes, both parents had come to terms with their new realities. Avery's blog had grown into a modest community of readers seeking solace in shared experiences, while Ethan's legacy in the world of architecture continued to inspire future generations. The pain of the past had not vanished, but it had transformed into a quiet strength, a reminder that even when trust is broken, the possibility for renewal remains. In the end, the story of the Monroes is not merely one of heartbreak and betrayal but also a powerful narrative about the price of liberation and the courage it takes to rebuild one's life from the fragments of shattered dreams. Each ending, no matter how bitter, carries within it the seed of a new beginning, a promise that through reflection, resilience, and the passage of time, the human heart can learn to beat anew. Dear listeners, thank you for joining me on this journey through the trials of shattered trust and the pursuit of true freedom. Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story moved you, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more tales of transformation and hope.